Raila is today alive because of this man, Justice Matthews Guy Muli, and of course Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Before I say how the two are the cause of Raila's being alive, I would first of all want to tell my viewer the characters of the two. That is Justice Matthews Guy Muli and President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi ruled through fear. Some people even call his rule imperial presidency. There are many things of which if I were to talk, I would talk forever about Moi. But what is relevant today is about the way he used to rule through fear. He used to make a lot of people fear him. That way he believed, and it really happened, that he ruled for a long time. Now, Justice Matthews Guy Muli, he is the father of Agnes Murgor, Justice Agnes Murgor of the Court of Appeal. He is the father-in-law to Mr. Philip Murgor, former Director of Public Prosecution. Through this couple, they have inherited something from him, because he was a High Court judge and later a Court of Appeal judge, and the daughter is that. He was, during his time, the Attorney General did two things. The Attorney General was the Director of Public Prosecution, simultaneously with being the Chief Legal Advisor. So when Philip Murgor became the Director of Public Prosecution, then he took over his father-in-law's job. When Justice Matthews Guy Muli left the High Court, he became the Attorney General. He messed. He became probably the worst Attorney General in Kenya's history. That is when Moi appointed Amos Sitswira Wako to be the Attorney General. And Amos Sitswira Wako worked for a very long time as the Attorney General. When Justice Matthews Guy Muli messed as the Attorney General, Moi took him back. Those who know today's constitution would be shocked, because nowadays there is the Judicial Service Commission. But those days the president had all those powers. So when he messed as the Attorney General, President Moi took him back to the bench as Court of Appeal judge. He made him the Court of Appeal judge, and people were complaining. Of course, sideways. Those days, you could not hear the names presidents nowadays are called. Kibaki was called Kegoya. Uhuru was called Jaydin. I meant to understand Jaydin has to go to do with a lot of hangover. And Ruto is called Zakayo. Those days, doing a thing that is a quarter or a fraction of that would make you go to the mortuary. So when he messed up as the Attorney General, he was taken back to the judiciary and made a Court of Appeal judge. Those days, we did not have the Supreme Court. So when he was taken there, there was a silent underground complaint that the people he prosecuted as the Attorney General, when they take their courts to the court, when they take their case to the Court of Appeal, on appeal, they will still appear before him, and it will be a conflict of interest, but nobody took action. Now, kwa mada yetu ya leo, Raila had been taken to court. He was charged with treason. There was a problem. Everything, all evidence that Raila had participated in the 1982 August attempted coup were in form of IRs. IRs, or India Romeo, were intelligence reports. Now, intelligence reports written by special branch officers or maintained by special branch officers. How do you use such reports as evidence? First of all, by their very nature, special branch officers were not allowed to give evidence in court in their capacity as special branch officers. You know, he has a shop, he has a farm, he has a vehicle. So in his capacity as a citizen, he could appear in court and give, but giving evidence through his duty, through what he got, through whatever. I first saw it during Kibaki's time, when we had the Nyali, the inquest to inquire about how a police station was overrun in Nyali. The inquest, the reports were even produced, and I remember going to Nyati House asking, hey, things have changed. But those days, intelligence reports were meant for intelligence services only. So those are the only evidence that were there. We had our spies who were in the house in Gong Road, who participated in the meetings and whatever. But they somehow, elsewhere and in other issues, because these are the people who went to buy facilities for the coup, they held other meetings, but Raila and Jaramogi were very careful. Jaramogi more careful than even Raila, such that getting first of all, Jaramogi was a challenge. He was aged. You know, like Raila now, he can do anything. Taking him to court may make him die in jail, and no president would want Raila to die in jail. It will bring problems to Kenya. So what happens? Jaramogi was old, and so the government had to look the other way around and ignore. Raila was young. He is now 70, and these are 40 years ago. So Raila was in his 30s. So he was young, and he could energetic, and he could be arrested and whatever. Actually, he was in committee, and when he was in committee, evidence were being looked for to convict him. Then, through discussions and comparing our judicial with others, you know, those days we did not have this plea bargaining. But somebody came up with that idea. Today we have plea bargaining. Plea bargaining is where one of the accused, plea bargaining has two conditions. Condition number one, you do not have any outside witnesses who could assist you in the case. And condition number two, you turn one of the accused persons to be your witnesses on one condition, that he will get total pardon upon convicting the main accused. So they looked for a few Air Force people whom the intelligence reports had placed them very near Raila, and anything that Raila did, anything that he performed, he never failed to consult those two. So it was decided that the two be approached. The two were approached with a suggestion. Suppose you turn into a government agent, a government informer, and tell us about Raila. They were, because those things, the plea bargaining was a new concept in Kenya. It was a new concept in Kenya, so they were told how it will happen, and they were told, since it is not legally, we don't have a law that covers plea bargaining. There was only one way. The only way was for the president to use his presidential prerogative. They agreed. When they agreed, the matter was taken to Moi in through two ways. In one way, the intelligence, Kanyotu, through his regular briefings to the president, told the president that Matthews Guy Muli is coming to you to tell you to pardon these people. Please understand him. Hana ubaya. So Moi was briefed and was told everything. So he was waiting in the State House for Matthews Guy Muli, for the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya to come and make a suggestion, and he had already ready to implement that suggestion. Now, going to Matthews Guy Muli, he was supposed to now go and inform the president, but he was scared. History had it that you go and advise president in a good way, the president changes. He was like a cobra. You approach a cobra, maybe you didn't even know it was there, or you approach it in good intention, but you get beaten. So on several occasions, Matthews Guy Muli would approach the president, talk, and study the mood. And in his mind, he would come up with a conclusion that it's the wrong time to approach the president. Maybe later, maybe later, maybe later. He kept on postponing until one day. Now, I don't know what happened. I don't know whether the president said, is there anything you want to tell me but you are afraid of saying? Or I don't know whether Muli now one day felt that, because as you have seen my case of Ouko being shot in State House, there were witnesses. There were around a dozen security officers in that room. But in this case, Attorney General used to meet President one-on-one. So what they knew, they are both dead, but even when they were alive, only God knew what was being discussed. So the intention was that Matthews Guy Muli to tell the president. Then one day he told the president that we have found a few airmen who have agreed to give evidence against Raila, and upon their evidence, and he even discussed and he said he was very sure that with their evidence Raila would be convicted of capital offense and Raila would be hanged in committee. So the president gave his authority. He said, go and implement that. Tomorrow morning I'm going to sign the relevant papers for those people, for those airmen to be pardoned. Then Matthews Guy Muli went home. Those days we only had one TV station called Voice of Kenya, VOK, which nowadays is called KBC, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. So Muli went home and started watching the prime time news. The prime time news. And you know what he saw in that prime time news? Those very same airmen who had agreed to give evidence against Raila had been convicted on their own plea of guilty it was too late and no evidence could be given against Raila. That is all for today.